Well, it is a beautiful morning already, and thanks for joining us on the press, reaching you live from the nation's capital. I am Victoria Agbi.
And a very beautiful morning to you, and a warm welcome to the press, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Olamide Alhassan. Hope you all had a great night. How are you, Victoria?
Olamide. You see your hair?
No, there's nothing about my
hair.
hair. No, no.
Where did the idea come from?
No, it's about your look. It's not about my hair, please.
She's trying to twist it. That's what I say. But no problem.
No, but Victoria, you look great this morning.
Thank you. It's a lot story.
You know, I never thought of blue and pink, and it's such a very beautiful combination.
Don't forget the white shoes too.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, viewers can't see it. But you look great.
Thank you too.
And it looks as though the cash in circulation now is doing you so well.
Well, I, for one, I feel like, yes, it's doing well because I went to the ATM yesterday, there was no queue, just myself and the other.
Really?
Like, oh my God, so a day like this can come. But nonetheless, I saw on the dailies this morning while I was going through, I saw Nigerian Labour Congress saying that the amount of cash in circulation is
still not enough. You know, that brings me to this statement of cash in circulation is not enough. Reminded me of what happened yesterday when I was trying to get cash. I didn't even think of going to the ATM. I felt like there's still going to be queue at the ATM point. But when I went to a POS point to get cash yesterday, the POS lady was still going to charge me 100 naira per every 1,000 I wanted. So I was wondering, why would I give you 100 naira for every 1,000 that I want? I was angry. I walked away. I went elsewhere. So I had to go to the person that was going to charge me the least. But they were still charging
the same amount.
Yes.
Well, it reminds me to that was last week. I went to a shop to get something. I said, okay, the person said he was not going to take transfer. I said, okay, of course, there's cash everywhere, and let me just try the POS. I went to the POS, and the guy was saying for, I think, 5,000 naira, he was going to take 500 naira. Guess my response, now you get the money. That was my response. Like,
exactly.
Is it your money? Like, I worked hard for my money, and then you're going to charge me 500, despite the fact that there's actually cash everywhere now.
So why should
circulation? What's the stress? Then we used to hear that the POS agents do go through rigorous process to get the money from the banks, and sometimes they have to pay cash for cash. But now, what's the rigorous process?
There's none anymore. So why you still? What excuses do you still have, and why would you still be charging people exorbitant amounts?
Back to the Nigeria taking advantage of every opportunity to get to just
the Nigerian factor.
Exactly, the Nigerian factor. Anyways, I think we just have to move on now to the weather forecast.
Definitely.
All right, we'll begin with Kaduna, where it is going to be 25 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, and partly cloudy conditions from 9 o'clock to 13 o'clock, with thunderstorm expected at 13 o'clock. That is for Kaduna, with 25 degrees Celsius there. And we'll move straight to Imo State, where we have 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy. Thunderstorms expected around 8 o'clock. Imo State there, 25 degrees Celsius, cloudy, thunderstorms expected around 8 o'clock. And moving straight to Kano, where we have 26 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy, and partly cloudy conditions from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. That's for Kano State. Due where to some extent, partly cloudy conditions from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So it's, maybe you should, I know how Kano can be, and yeah, I know how Kano can be, so do where to take your sweaters, your cardigans in case. And we move straight to Lagos with 28 degrees Celsius, mostly cloudy conditions, partly cloudy conditions from 9 o'clock to 14 o'clock, with thunderstorms expected at 14 o'clock. And we move straight to Abuja, where we expected to have 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. Well, this is actually causing a lot of cough for me already, because last night I couldn't sleep. I was coughing at night because I don't know, somehow it's a bit, although I think we are in heat season, but it's seeming as though the cold the weather is kind of a bit cold. I don't know.
It may seem as though you're not in Nigeria.
Are you serious? So are you saying
it's actually very hot at my end. I don't know. Yes.
But
So that's why I say it may
night,
seem as though you're not in
usually
Nigeria.
at night it's very cold, and sometimes I just turn off the AC, close on my window and everything.
Maybe your idea of cold might not be my idea of cold.
But
let me just believe that.
Okay. Your idea of cold might not be mine. So we move straight. Okay, we're still in Abuja, 25 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy. Cloudy conditions from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock with thunderstorms expected at 12 o'clock. So it's going to not be really sunny today, at least from 9 to 12 o'clock. So you can just do well to take the necessary precautions. And we move straight to Port Harcourt. Well, it's going to be saving raining over there. Port Harcourt with 26 degrees Celsius, thunderstorms from 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, with cloudy conditions expected at 9 o'clock. Rain, well, in Port Harcourt. So in case you're watching us from Port Harcourt, or you intend to travel to Port Harcourt, just have this at the back of your mind that you might experience a lot of rain in Port Harcourt. So do well to take the necessary precautions for all the states mentioned, and of course other states not mentioned. And that's all on the weather forecast.
All right, now let's go to our headlines for today, and we'll begin with some punchy headlines from the Punch newspaper. It says APC kicks as Northern senators insist on Senate presidency. APC kicks as Northern senators insist on Senate presidency, and Rider says Ndume, Kano, Niger senators poised to contest, say Senate needs competent hands. Any Muslim aspiring to be Senate president lacks respect for constitution. That's coming from Vice Chair. And APC yet to decide on zoning, but won't allow another Saraki Dogara scenario, says spokesman. And that details you find on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Now, above the nameplate, Buhari should suspend fuel subsidy removal, declare marketers. Buhari should suspend fuel subsidy removal, declare marketers, and that's available for your read on page 19. UK restriction can't stop doctors' migration, and that's according to NMA and NARD, and you find the details on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. Port reconstructing will cost $800 million, says MPA boss, and that is a page 10 read for you. Away from that, we have Easter. Lagos FCC residents celebrates grateful for surviving cash crunch. I'll take that again in case you didn't hear me. It says Easter. Lagos FCC residents celebrate grateful for surviving cash crunch. You know, I'm just imagining what Easter would have been like without availability of cash.
And you get to save a lot of money.
No, I saw that.
Okay.
No, save a lot of money.
Yes.
But funny enough, my bank did not function on Sunday morning.
Well,
My card declined, my app did not open.
True.
So I was like, what is going on?
True.
So, but besides that, it would have been too much to handle, because already it didn't seem as though people were really celebrating Easter. It was a little bit quiet. Maybe at my end, I don't know about the places.
Yeah, it was indeed quiet. But don't forget that people, to some extent, people have already have gotten used to the cashless policy. So if your ATM did not work, your bank app did not work, perhaps you would have still looked for another alternative, like I don't know, maybe shop online. I don't know. I don't know.
I saying shop online.
Shop online.
We get back to the details. Shop online, but Nigeria is in shop online during the cash crunch.
Well,
what if your card doesn't go through?
True though.
So what would you say?
I almost had an altercation when coming here with Uber driver, and I transferred the money. It had not been debited though, but I checked my bank app. The money had left, and he said he hasn't seen the money. So what are we going to do now? He said he's not going.
Of course.
So
I can imagine how bad that could have been. All right, so moving on. It says enumerators indicted for sexual harassment will be dismissed. That's coming from MPC, and you find that details on page 8 of the same Punch newspaper. Police arrest suspect in Instagram cloth vendor's death. Police arrest suspect in Instagram cloth vendor's death. And that's on page 4 and page 5 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, on the Punch, Nigerian unemployment rate to hit 41% in 2023. That's according to the statistics from KPMG. That's on page 10 for you. And that's how we leave it for the Punch newspaper for today.
All right, we move to the Nigeria Tribune with its biggest headline saying, key players kick as most states move to build new airports. Key players kick as most states move to build new airports. With its rider, 1/10 of funds spent on state airports can generate $1 trillion. Government officials account for between 80 and 90% of passenger traffic. NCAA must demand business plan for state airports. Blaming NCAA amounts to lack of knowledge. That's coming from spokesperson. Well, details of all the story you can get on the page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune. And Adebanjo at 95. This is not the Nigeria we fought for. That is coming from Adebanjo. You can get details of that story on the page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune. St. Con Port risks collapse if nothing is done. NPA raises alarm. Details of that story to get on the page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Prosecute Lai Mohammed for fake news dissemination, clerk tells federal government. Prosecute Lai Mohammed for fake news dissemination, clerk tells federal government. Details of that story you can find on the page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune. Suspected Yahoo boy crushes 4 to death, injures others in Ondo. I take that again. Suspected Yahoo boy crushes 4 to death, injures others in Ondo State. Details of that story you will get on the page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune. Any Muslim vying for Senate presidency has no respect for Nigerian's constitution, but that's coming from APC NWC member. Details of that story you'll find on the page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune. 357 bills passed through third reading in House of Reps in 45 months, and 82 bills awaiting concurrent. 52 harmonized bills by Buhari. Details of that story you will find on the page 14 of the Nigerian Tribune. 19 Constitution Amendment Bill rejected by Buhari have automatically become laws. 19 Constitutions Amendment Bill rejected by Buhari have automatically become laws. That is coming from Falana. And the writer says, knocks president for rejecting bill to rescue 20 million children. Details of that story you can find on the page 29 of the Nigerian Tribune. That is all on the Nigerian Tribune. Do well to grab a copy.
And on the Vanguard newspaper for today, says 2023 polls. Candidates from 10 parties file 436 petitions. Candidates from 10 parties file 436 petitions. And Rider says APC, PDP, LP, AA, APGA, APM, APP, YPP, SDP, NNPP go to tribunals. That's a lot. Anyway, moving on. In spite of complaints, 2023 polls better than 2019. That's according to INEC source. Says 2019 had 807 petitions. Maintains parties conducted worse primaries in 2023 than 2019. 2023 has 1,370 pre-election suits compared to 370 of 2019. It says we're sure of victory, Atiku's aid, with watertight petitions coming from Oshutokun. And you find the details on page 5 of the Vanguard. Now above the nameplate, FIRS Customs generate 12.7 trillion naira revenue in 2022. That's on page 19 for you. Concerned Northerners vow to defend Tinubu's mandate. Concerned Northerners vow to defend Tinubu's mandate. Motorcycle importation falls 42% to 212.64 billion naira. That's on page 19. Obi writes obedience amid barrage of attacks. Obi writes obedience amid barrage of attacks. If you want to find out what he wrote, you have to check page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, beside the picture story, we have Benin Ports, Edo MPA BPE ICRC complete request for qualification. Benue killings, declare state of emergency now, tribal leaders tell FG. And that's available for your read on page 10. NBET pays Genco's 614.91 billion naira for power generation. And that's on page 22. Tourism, hunger looms as farmers abandon farmlands in Kaduna local government. You find that on page 10. Fake news, not our duty to monitor social media content. That's coming from NCC. Nigerian Communications Commission, and that's available for your read on page 27. Now, finally, on the Vanguard newspaper, insecurity, Buhari leaving Nigeria far better than he met it. That's coming from presidency. Well, let me quickly take this last sports story. Osimhen uncertain for AC Milan clash. That's on page 31. And that's where we leave it for the Vanguard newspaper for today.
All right, we'll move straight to the Nation's newspaper, where the biggest headlines coming for attention says APC INEC to poll tribunal, Obi's petition a waste of time. And its rider, Labour Party's candidate, was PDP member when he picked ticket. Election conducted in compliance with Electoral Act agency insists. Well, details of that story you can get on the page. Front page of the Nation newspaper and extends to the page 4 of the Nation newspaper. And the Ajibola I knew by Afe Babalola. Well, you can get that story, I guess it's an opinion, on page 6 of the Nation newspaper. Cash flow from banks still low, says NLC. Cash flow from banks still low, says NLC, and Congress awaits reports. Details of that story on the page 7 of the Nation newspaper. Pre-poll, how Tinubu scaled 18 landmines in court. NMA 6, better environment for doctors, orders to operate. You can get that story on page 15 to 17 of the Nation newspaper. Governor-elect rejects life pension plan by incumbent. House not aware of bill. Details of that story you can find on the page 4 of the Nation's newspaper. National Assembly, APC governors seek urgent action on zoning. And the writer says, hardline position by aspirants worry NWC. Details of that story you can find on the page 4 of the Nation newspaper. Abducted ex-Nassarawa deputy governor freed. And details of that story you can get on the page 27 of the Nation newspaper. Buhari off to Saudi Arabia. Details of that story you'll find on the page 25 of the Nation newspaper. Why Kogi West should produce next governor. Why Kogi West should produce next governor. You can get that read on the page 13 of the Nation's newspaper. And last, on the Nation's newspaper, Miyetti Allah condemns Benue killings. Miyetti Allah condemns Benue killings. Details of that story you'll get on the page 27 of the Nation newspaper. Do where to grab a copy.
All right, now to the newspaper you can trust, the Daily Trust. It says consumers groan over epileptic power supply. Consumers groan over epileptic power supply. And rider says situation worsen heat. Access to water amid Ramadan. Muslim clerics faithful accuse discourse of sabotage. Electricity companies blame low allocation from National Grid. And that story you find on page 4 of the Daily Trust. Now below the nameplate, arrest of Kano singers escorts. Police commercialization responsible for abuse. And that's on page 11. $22 million Calabar Channel dredging. Intel's contracts cost my job. I'll take that again. $22 million Calabar Channel dredging. Intel's contracts cost my job. That's coming from Adiza Bala, and that you find on page 10 of the Daily Trust. World Bank to advocate debt restructuring for developing countries. That's on page 19 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Now, away from that, resident doctors reject bill mandating 5-year service for doctors, and that's on page 5. How to secure your bank accounts from fraudsters, that's on page 28. As Buhari embarks on 8-day visit to Saudi Arabia today. Buhari embarks on 8-day visit to Saudi Arabia today. And finally, on the Daily Trust newspaper, we have bear attacks as sacrifice for new Nigeria. Bear attacks as sacrifice for new Nigeria. Obi tells supporters. Apparently that would have been the message that he wrote to Obedience. And that's where we'll leave it for the Daily Trust newspaper for today.
All right, move straight to the Guardian and probably our last paper this morning. And Guardian came differently today. Buhari undertakes last official trip to Saudi Arabia, salutes Dangote at 66. Buhari undertakes last official trip to Saudi Arabia, salutes Dangote at 66. You can get details of that story on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. At 95, struggle continue for a better Nigeria, says Adebanjo. Details of that story you get on the page 6 of the Guardian. And the World Bank says 2% output growth in 2023. World Bank says 2% output growth in 2023. Details of that story you will find on the page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. At 80, Biden considers re-election in 2024. At 80, Biden considers re-election in 2024. That's a panorama. You can get that read on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Nigerian industrial base weaker over poor credit support from banks. Nigeria's industrial base weaker over poor credit support from banks. You can get details of that story on the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Private school operators and burden of multiple charges. Private school operators and burden of multiple charges. I guess that's a column there. You can get that read on the page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. And I have a picture story here. Managing Director, CEO, Nodika Fertility Center, Dr. Abayomi Ajayi, and Clinic Manager, Mrs. Tola Ajayi, with some of the children hosted at Hakuna Matata Theme Park in commemoration of Nodiga's 20th anniversary in Lagos yesterday. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper, and of course on our newspaper headlines being read to you this morning. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll have our guests join us to do some analysis. To stay with us.
Bishop Kolo called on Christians to believe in the resurrection of Christ to return at an appointed time.
And they are still lying in their graves. But when Jesus died, like he promised, 3 days after, he rose from the dead. He laid down his life and he took it up. And that was exactly what he said he's able to do. And because of this, our advice to everyone is to now accept him to be who he says he is. The one who has come to seek and to save those who are lost. He did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom. And having died, which we mark on Good Friday, he has now risen to say that he has done and finished that work of salvation. Because salvation is now freely offered, given to men. I will urge and appeal to all men alike to see and to receive Jesus as personal Savior and Lord of their lives, so that his death will not be in vain. Because God is not requiring anything from us outside the fact that the soul who sinned should die, and he has come to die in our state. We need not to die again. And so let's receive and accept the offer that God has given.
Bishop Kolo noted that the incoming administration must lead in line with the principles of God to foster peace, love, and unity in the country.
If the incoming administration want to key into what Jesus came to do, they must see him as the Lord of life. They must see him as the Prince of Peace. They must see him as the King and the God who is able to lead us. And therefore, the relationship will be that they should study and know his word and accept those commands which he gives, so that we can live well. By the grace of God, because he is alive, he will be there to listen. He will be there to accept. He will be there to guide. And that is what we call them to do. Godliness will lead us as a nation to having peace and security around. Anything else outside that one, we will be groping in darkness. So I want to appeal to all those who are coming in newly to seek God, seek to understand him, and seek to do that which he will ask us to do. And what he will ask us to do, he has already told us. It's for us to take it and to apply it.
Easter commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ 3 days after he was crucified. It is one of the holidays of Christianity.
As Christians all over the world mark Good Friday and Easter celebration, the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, Most Reverend Ignatius K. Gama, stressed the need for Christians to use this opportunity offered by the event to reconcile with God by imbibing the lessons which include love, self-sacrifice, forgiveness, humility, as well as love for country.
So we are imitating what he did by encouraging one another to carry the cross of Christ. The pains and the sufferings we go through in life are not meant to destroy us. They are meant to challenge us to be better people. So if, like Christ, we carry our crosses, whether at work, in the family, the cross of sickness or pain, we carry them to the end, we shall also be victorious, as Christ was victorious after his suffering and death.
K. Gama praised that the supreme sacrifice instills in Christians' commitment to nation building and the resurrection of Christ on Easter, a rejuvenation of faith and triumph over challenges in nation building, peaceful coexistence, and successful transition program.
We say whether it is political suffering, economic suffering, medical suffering and all that, let's just be courageous and strong. Nigerians are known to be very resilient, very determined, and we trust in God. So we should never give up. human beings may fail us, God does not fail us. So we should hold on to God and let nobody deceive us or tempt us to believe that God is not powerful. God is powerful. At his own time, he will do it, and in a way that will surprise us. So let's keep struggling till victory is achieved.
Also speaking, Sister Mary Fideli said this period should herald a rebirth and healing of the country, emphasizing the need to use the period to pray for the Christian all over the world.
It is called Good Friday, although Jesus died. It is Good Friday for us who are freed. We owe him our gratitude, our worship, and adoration. We have all seen what happened during the sin, that the voice of the justice was ignored. When Barabbas was telling them that Jesus is innocent, that voice was unheard. They ignored it and still carry on with their injustices. So I'm telling the people of the world and myself that we should maintain justice in the society.
The two great events in the Christian calendar, Good Friday and Easter, symbolize the triumph of good over evil. The clergy prays that a season awakens Christians the spirit of dedication to public good and selfless service to the nation.
Gender equality has been a major issue in Africa, which Nigeria is not excluded. Hence, in the need to address the surrounding challenges, the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies NILS, in partnership with the United Nations Women, seek to proffer solution to ensure women participate in Nigeria's development. Professor Abubakar Olarawaju Suleiman, Director General, NILS, says his administration encourages women empowerment and as such gives room for their participation. Abubakar also renewed his commitment support to United Nations Women to ensure there is space for women in government and other aspects of the country's development.
In political parlance, you talk of rationality. It's not every time rationality comes to play in decision making. Other variables come into play. Other forces come into play. Other considerations come into play. So we need to, as academics, institutions, research institutions, I think we need to go further to really know what was the problem and what are the problems. In the last 4 years, you have done so much. The bulk of your vote was on this issue of increasing the awareness, raising the conversations, sensitizing the Nigerian people on why they must allow women a say in governance. We don't need to do any serious exam for students to say what has gone wrong. It has not yielded any results. All our effort in the last 4 years, as UN Women, as NILS, as other MD, has failed. And we are ready to work with you.
The representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Beatrice Eyong, say the fight for gender equality is not to mount the position of men, rather to accord women the opportunity to be part of the decision-making of the country. Beatrice added that development cannot be achieved when women are left behind.
If we don't have all our women and our men involved in development planning, development implementation, and even the benefits, then we are not going to have any sustainable development. A gender-responsive parliament is a parliament where men and women are free to put their full potential at the disposal of their country so that we can forge ahead with our development. Because when men and women they sit on the table, men see things differently and women see things differently. So when we put these two ways of looking at things, then we have a complete picture. And we always say, If you're doing something for me, without me, you may be doing it against me. So it is good that women sit at the table.
The assurance that women empowerment will help bring about contribution to the development of Nigeria was the major focus for this gathering.
With access to quality and affordable health care as a fundamental index of women's empowerment, the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, in collaboration with the Voices for Women's Health, #ICommit, had a media briefing in Abuja on Wednesday. The group is clamoring for the well-being and rights of women in Nigeria. The president, NAWOJ, Ladi Bala, stated that all stakeholders, especially the media practitioner, must be on the same page in the advocacy for women's right prioritization and to accelerate a fruitful change.
We have a critical issue that we need to tackle. And we all know our responsibility as media practitioners, media organizations, journalists. We have a role to play in forging a better society. Health issue is a very critical issue. The health indices of Nigeria as we speak today is not something that we can celebrate. There's so much that needs to be done. And as we look forward to having a new government in place come next month, all things being equal by the grace of God, we already have a president-elect, and members of the National Assemblies have already been elected, and even at the state houses of assembly. So all the machineries that we need, to ensure that the right message and policies are put in place and implemented for the general good of Nigerians are already in place. And so it's now left for us as people in the media space to take up our responsibility and begin to drive home the conversation and mobilize critical stakeholders to see the need this time around to give priority to women issues, particularly health issues around women.
Also speaking, the Executive Director, International Society of Media in Public Health, Moji Makanjola, stressed that women have to be in leadership positions to bridge the gap in women's health crisis and also other female-related issues.
We cannot be alive. Our needs cannot be attended to health-wise because we don't have a lot of women at the governance table. One of the huge noise that you have to make, a very loud voice that you have to give. Since Nigerian women, they have failed us at the elective posts. What about the appointed posts? If we are not on the table to discuss with them, we will not go far. So your reports should include that attaining health, quality health care for Nigerian women, there must be a deliberate stance to include Nigerian women in elective offices.
The country director of Pathfinder International Voices for Women's Health campaign, Dr. Amina Abdurayi, and other stakeholders reiterated their commitment to supporting and empowering women for a better nation.
Women and girls are in situations that they cannot, support themselves because of their power dynamics that we have. It's to enable transformational change away from the status quo. We are saying that we are tired. Our lives matter. The lives of my mother matters. The lives of my sister matters. The lives of all the women across all the communities matters.
Is very committed to this program. When you talk of health, you talk of women and children. I'm happy today that we have young doctors among us. We have women that can take care of women. So I will always support and voice out and stand for women's health.
NAWOJ also urged media practitioners to report issues of the female gender properly to ensure positive change and national development. Pamela Ajero, reporting for KAFTAN Television News, Abuja. With access to quality and affordable health care as a fundamental index of women's empowerment, the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, in collaboration with the Voices for Women's Health, #ICommit, had a media briefing in Abuja on
Wednesday. Prof. Jerry Garner called on leaders in the country to be selfless in the delivery, adding that public office is for service and not for self.
Office is for service. It's not for self. It's for the public. And therefore, whoever is in public service should do public good. Leadership is to generate goodness for the ordinary people. Extremely important. The light of God in our lives should shine brightly so that people can see our good works and praise God, who is our Heavenly Father. So that's the first thing I hope that the new leadership would really look at governance as leadership, as service for the ordinary people. Nigeria has so many resources. Why should our people be so poor and so miserable? In my own state here in Niger State, why should our roads be so bad? Anytime I'm traveling to come to Bida from Abuja, I have to pray hard. It's so difficult, it's so tough. Why? Niger State was created in 1976. Were you born then?
No, sir.
You see what I'm saying? For years, look at where we are. So the next administration here, not only Abuja, here in Niger, should work for the people.
He noted that Nigerians have a huge individual role to play in the development of the nation.
Bring very, very warm greetings to all Nigerians. We also now want to take this opportunity to say that if we have enjoyed the resurrection power of Jesus in our lives, then we should be an example wherever we are. In the home, we should be examples. In the society, we should be examples of the solid character of Christ. The character of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness. You are not selfish. We are selfless. So all these characteristics. And therefore we should be able to, as it were, let our people have the impact, especially if God gives us the opportunity of being leaders in the community, in the state, or in the federal. This is how your changed character affects what you do. You deliver for the people.
Jerry Garner is a Nigerian scholar, politician, and one-time senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In 1983, then director for the Directorate of Food, Roads and Infrastructure. The Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadiya Umar Farouk, during her evaluation on the National Emergency Management Agency, noted that it became imperative for the ministry to get a structure that will oversee the office of the agency, adding that in 2 weeks' time the structure will get the finishing.
From what the engineers have told me, about 92% completion has been reached. So we hope that very soon, they assured me in the next 2 weeks precisely, this place will be fully completed and will be able to commission. I'm very impressed with the level of work. It started in 2019, but then they were only mobilized and it stopped for some time before the coming of
Also, the Director General NEMA, Ahmed Mustafa Habib, says he's excited over the work done so far.
These people have done a very good job. A very good, very excellent, a world-class emergency agency. A world-class emergency agency. You have seen we have a clinic and we have 3 structures to accommodate everybody. What we presently have and where people are, you can see we have some containers where people are staying in containers. When we have the whole agency in one place, definitely there will be productivity. We have mission control center, all our departments are in one place.
Since its establishment in 1999, NEMA has been tackling disaster-related issues through the establishment of concrete structures and measures.
Some lawmakers both in the House of Representatives and in the Senate have already declared their interest in the positions of Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Today in Abuja, the Women in Politics Forum is asking political parties to consider the female elected parliamentarians as presiding and principal officers. The president of the forum, Ebere Efendo, at the press conference in Abuja, called for gender inclusive in zoning ratio.
Unfortunately for us, we do not have women returning to the Senate. So though we have 3 women elected to the Senate, they are all coming in as fresh members of the Senate. But this is not to say that they don't have capacity. And so we are looking at, having them as chairs of very good committees, because they are coming in with their expertise, with their experience from other fields, and even also from politics. The House of Representatives, like I said earlier, we have some members coming back as ranking members. And so we are, positioned to take up presiding officers' positions at the National Assembly. So we therefore ask as follows: that political parties uphold the provisions of the National Gender Policy as approved by the Federal Executive Council. That political parties be primarily gender inclusive and ensure that whatever zoning ratio is adopted in the party concerning the principal offices should favor the female members elect of the 10th National Assembly.
Other members of the forum also urged the government to implement 35 affirmative actions and need for the incoming president to be gender sensitive.
Our problem is always the implementation. The policies will be there, good policies, people will sit down, will have time to sit down and come up with all these good intentions for women, but the implementation is always our own problem. I also want to seize this opportunity to call on the incoming president that he should please be gender sensitive in all his appointments.
In terms of bills, lobbying, and activating decisions at that level, presiding officer, just like when you have the speaker and the deputy speaker, they're usually the ones who generate the consensus and the numbers in the House and influence lobbying. But when you talk about principal officers like the deputy chief whip, minority leader, such offices are good, but we're saying presiding officers have more power and influence conversations, especially for women.
When they are there, we know that women's issues will take the spot it's supposed to take. The front burner will be addressed properly, and we know that Nigerian women will support them to make them succeed and ensure that bills that are favorable to women are brought to the front burner. This kind of selfish representation that we've been seeing from the men should stop.
And the importance this will provide to enhance Nigerian political stability. He also spoke about discrimination as she asked for the qualifications of women in principal offices.
If women are qualified or not, do we have the same question for male? Do we ask male in politics if they are qualified or not? But we tend to ask this question. It's a discrimination. So women are qualified because politics is not about qualification. It's about serving people, and women are better positioned to serve people.
Other of their pleas is that male members elect in the 10th Assembly give full support to their female colleagues seeking to run for principal office.
A total of 58 senior police officers have been decorated with new ranks by the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, at the force headquarters, Abuja. Deputy Inspector General of Police, Adeolu Agbi Tokun, who was until his promotion the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 7, Abuja. Assistant Inspector General of Police, Frank Mba, and until his promotion, the Commissioner of Police, Ogun State, 23 AIGs. The IGP charges promoted officers to uphold police reform's tenet, rule of law, as he stressed the need for respect of human fundamental rights as enshrined in Nigeria's constitution.
We shall be decorating one Deputy Inspector General of Police
24 Assistant Inspector Generals of Police and 33 Commissioners of Police at this. Newly promoted officers, I call on you to deploy your wealth of experience towards supporting the force leadership in addressing current and evolving internet security challenges. I further charge you to advance the manifestation of those exceptional skills, sets and professional qualities which has earned you this latest elevation and brought you thus to a policing career.
Hence a retreat to enhance leadership for the newly promoted police managers.
The post leadership has concluded plans to convene a 2-day retreat on executive leadership and management skills scheduled to hold at the National Institute of Police Studies, NIPS, Abuja, from 18th to 19th April 2023.
Hi, welcome back. This is still the press reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. And now we've been joined by our guest, Habib Gajo, for further analysis of the headlines we just read out to you. And a reminder that our phone lines are open for you to call in and make your contributions known. You're welcome, Mr. Gajo.
Thank you.
It's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you.
How are you doing today, sir?
Alhamdulillah.
All right. There's a lot of stories hitting the polity today, but just like we've been hearing, the new administration is coming soon, probably by May 29th. We'll have another president sworn in. And now there's been a lot of concerns about what the cabinet is going to look like. So now on the Punch newspaper, we have APC kicks as northern senators insist on Senate presidency. Now the northern senators are asking to be the president, to be the Senate president. And we have other marginalized groups saying the Senate president should come from them. At this point, what do you think? Some are saying because the North supported more, or some are saying because we did more. A region is saying we did more, so we are entitled to it. Another region is saying these people didn't deliver, so they are not supposed to get entitled to it. What do you make of all of this?
What make of all this bickering and going back and front is because the ruling party, APC, has failed to restructure their party based on nationality and unity of Nigeria.
Okay.
The reason why I said so, in 2015, when Buhari, when APC formed first government, they failed to zone this position, and that what led to Saraki and Dogara emergence as Speaker and Senate President. They are busy fighting themselves, but it's like they don't know how Nigeria operate or how the constitution and of Nigeria operate, because in the constitution we have there is what we have federal character and balancing of zonal structures. For example, if a president came from the south,
Yes.
definitely his Senate president have to go to the south.
If a president comes from the south, the Senate has to go to the south.
Yes.
Why? Why?
The reason why is the president is being given opportunity for somebody to come from his own region, because is the only way he is the chairman. The Senate president is the chairman of the National Assembly, so he is the one that is going to protect him in case of any circumstance.
Okay, but I want to ask a question. So where does fair play and balance come for those who are agitating marginalization? Because if a president is from the south and then you are giving the ticket for a Senate president to be south, it just means that there is no balance anywhere.
It is. For example, in 1999, Obasanjo from the southwest became a president. All his 4 Senate presidents are from the southeast, 5 of them. So every state of the southeast had a Senate president, from Enwaram to Chuba Okadibo to Pius Ayim to Ken Innamani, and so on, Wabara, and if you look at all of them, they are from different states in the southeast. You understand?
Very well.
Yes, and at the end of the day, when the president wanted 3rd term, they rejected him. You understand?
Very well.
So that's what it is. You see, those who are the Senate president, the current Senate president, is from the northeast, and the vice president is from the northeast. So definitely, this
zoning,
the zoning, if they are going to zone it, definitely Ahmed Lawan and those from that zone will not have to qualify to even contest. You understand? For the position of the Senate.
Okay.
The speakership.
Okay.
Because the deputy Senate president will come from the North Central. I'm telling you according to the federal character.
Okay.
Then this speakership will come from the Northwest.
Okay, but does this not put in futility? I understand, and this question is a question I've always asked. Is zoning not really a problem in politics? Because the 3 arms of government, the judiciary, the executive, and the legislative, are supposed to check the excessive of each arm, which I understand. And you made mention of zoning when a president is, for instance, a northern president, the Senate, it has to go to the north, if I understood you correctly, and because he has, or the president has to protect the president. But where does checking excesses, if the president and the Senate president have to protect the president, where does checking excesses, cross-checking, and where does it now come? If I'm going to be the Senate president has to be protecting the president.
That's why I gave you an example. I said, when the issue of 3rd term, when Obasanjo wanted 3rd term,
yes,
the Senate president from the southeast refused because it's unconstitutional. So he cannot protect him against the constitution.
But is it constitutional to have the president and the Senate president come from the same region?
Yeah, you understand. You know, zoning, people don't know that zoning is a gentleman agreement. So, but the federal character, it has to balance the positions and carry Nigerians along. Like I said, if the president is from the southwest, then the Senate president will come from the southeast. The speakership, the deputy speaker will come from the north central, while the speaker will go to the northwest. Then the northeast will now produce the deputy speaker.
So what about the south?
The south, in that regard, I think south have. I don't think they have a senator from.
We have Godswill Akpabio.
Oh, yeah, and he's already clamoring that he intends to be a Senate president.
Yeah, he can play along. You understand? He can play along. If.
But do you think he has a chance?
He has a
coming from the south.
Yes, he has a chance.
Okay.
You understand? Because it's still south. You understand? It did not say southeast, southwest. You understand? But what we had previously, if when the southern, more especially from the southwest, emerges as president, you understand? So if the southeast cannot play the game very well, it will go to the southeast.
All right.
The south, because the south used to have a Senate majority leader, and I think in speakership they used to have also House leader. You remember Eta Enang?
Sure. I also want to ask a question in line with this still. We're talking about zoning based on region, and here the APC NWC National Vice Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Saliu Lukman, has said that lawmakers of the Islamic faith seeking to be president of the 10th Senate should perish their thoughts.
Yes.
So, do you agree with his statement?
Yeah, you know, in a democratic setting or the constitutional democracy, you know, ethnic or religious has no place. It's just that in Nigeria we are talking about this one is a Muslim, this one is a Christian. You know, even when this zoning has started, when it was introduced in PDP, late Abubakar Rimi rejected it. He said it's undemocratic, it's unconstitutional to zone all these things. So you see, you cannot, for example, now if a southern Muslim, like from the south, or emerges as a senator and contesting for the Senate president, can you deny him because he's a Muslim?
Absolutely not.
You understand?
But
or he can a Muslim deny him because he's a Christian?
You know, there was a statement.
You understand? So APC is always creating confusions and confusions.
Do you think it's about the party? Now,
it's about the party. Definitely.
Because we've come to realize that in Nigeria, regardless of the party, religion comes to play, ethnicity comes to play. Now, the question is, shouldn't we also look at competence? But at this point where we are in Nigeria, can we look at competence ahead of all of those things?
Yes. You see, in an issue of competence, in every tribe and ethnic religious Nigeria, you have abundant of competent people.
Mm-hmm.
You have them in Christian, you have them in Muslim, in Islam.
True.
All part of Nigeria. A remote village, if you go, you have a competent person, regardless of his religion.
All right.
You understand?
Sorry, apologies. Let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
You're welcome to the press. Please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, this is Akim calling from Lagos.
All right, please join the conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much. First and foremost, let me make comments on the issue of Senate presidency or not Senate presidency.
Go ahead.
Honestly speaking, if we have to look at it critically, as for the ruling party that won the election, if the Northwest argue for it, I think they want it. Reason being that they have a larger contribution to that. But again, if you look at this from the angle of at least placing other parts of the country, okay, I think if we feel like taking it to the south, between the southeast and south-south, without any bias or whatever, south-south wants it more, which is very, very obvious, okay? Despite the fact that we know that southeast probably maybe but that doesn't play in democracy, okay? So that's one aside. It now depends on how the party plays the policies there. But what matters, if truly we are truly Nigeria, we want Nigeria to survive, religion or tribe shouldn't be an issue. What should be an issue should be merit, okay? Who merits it? Who has been there for long? Then lastly, on the issue of Muslim ticket, I want us to understand something here. You see, FCC wouldn't have taken a Muslim ticket if TDP had not broken the rule. It might not be rule, but it consider rule, okay, of zoning.
Okay.
Yes. You consider, at least look at Atiku Abubakar. Everybody knows how influenced he is, how popular he is.
All right.
For him to have come to contest in PDP, definitely it's a very big challenge to APC, and that was the only avenue for APC to win the election.
All right, thank you.
About winning, okay? Then
All right.
before talking about
All right. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning. Let's quickly take another call. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, beautiful morning to you, Alhassan, and the other lady there, Honorable Gajo. Beautiful morning to you.
And to you too. Good morning. Please join the conversation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gajo. Let me appreciate you, that I really appreciate, and that I appreciate KAFTAN for giving us this ample opportunity to express our mind.
Thank you too for calling.
Let me, first of all, let's mention this. I am not a card-carrying member of any political party.
Okay.
I strongly believe Honorable Gajo knows that. But let me quickly appreciate PDP party for being the national party in the country up to now. Irrespective of their differences in this 2023 election, but believing me, PDP is the main national party we have in this country. And I hope and pray they will take this advantage and then take their home in a right manner. That's my view. Secondly, the issue of the national Senate leadership. Go to the North National Working Committee cases further. We are always advocating on how to bridge the gap between religious and ethnicity even before this 2023 election. But unfortunately, our politicians get away with it this time around because nobody in the world today will tell you the 2023 election, religion and ethnicity did not play a role. Now the question is how to bridge that gap. Before we are advocating, now it's looking far deeper than what we are expecting. How are we going to bridge the gap? That is the question. I could remember, let me quote about 9 days ago. Senator Indume was on Channel TV. And let me quickly quote from what he said.
I'll need you to. I'll need you to.
Let me quickly quote, please. He said, Senate President, Senate presidency is sold to the highest bidder. I don't know whether he is now a highest bidder. Because he is looking for that position.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me be honest with you. We are looking for merit,
All right.
competency. The House has code and ethics that is guided by it. There are traditions in the House. So let them go by the tradition. Thank you very much. I remain SMB from Lagos.
All right, thank you very much for your call. You know, there was something, apologies. There was something the first caller said and the second caller, and it's begging to question. The first person was talking about who is worth this and who is worth that, which region is worth this and which region is worth that. And then he is also coming out to say, why would Senator Ndume make that kind of statement? Like, why would you say it should be sold to the highest bidder? At this point, looking at APC that is calling for national unity, do you think the party is likely to go for who does the most or who has invested the most during the elections and who brought the most success to the party, or they would want to look out for national unity?
And to add to what she said, based on the first caller, he said something about election is about winning. So it begs me to question, are we supposed to be saying election is about winning, or we are supposed to be saying election is about bringing in competent people to rule us as a country or a nation?
Yeah, the rule of the game in politics or in a democratic is all about winning. You understand? And it's because of the winning, because they care about the winning. They don't care about the zoning or the balancing. That is why they did Muslim ticket. You understand? So it's about the winning. The first caller made mention of PDP and what I want to tell him, all these 3 or 4 front runners political parties, all of them are from PDP. They are all PDP. So it's a breakaway. You understand? Even those who help APC to win are PDPs. These people,
people always say they are birds of a feather, right?
Yes. This national leadership contenders, if you check their background, they started politics from PDP. You understand? That is why APC is so scared and afraid of this zoning matter. Like the issue of Aliu Ndume. Ndume came to Senate under the PDP before. So they were PDP before. You understand? The second caller, SMD, from Lagos, yes, what he said is 100% correct, because we need to balance that religious and ethnic centric politics. For example, Olamide, let me ask you, in Buhari's government, Bajamila is a Muslim speaker. You understand?
Very well.
His deputy, Wasi, is a Muslim. In Senate, Ahmed Lawan is also a Muslim. You understand?
Very well.
But because Buhari running mate is Pastor Osibanjo, nobody even cares, nobody even come to term that how the Senate president is Muslim, the speaker and deputy speaker are almost nobody raised the issue. You understand? It was not hot or like now. So SMD, the notion is how to bridge the gap. When you bridge the gap, nobody knows you are a Christian or you are a Muslim. During Jonathan was a Christian. David Mark was a Christian. His deputy, Ike Madu, is a Christian. Who knows? Who noticed? Who talk about it?
Okay, so do you think...
So we need to come to term that religion is not part of our democratic choice, either winning or losing. But when it comes to the leadership, all what we want is competent leadership across Nigeria. And you have all those competent across Nigeria. If you go to my village, you have a competent person that will be a speaker. If you go to somebody's village, you have somebody who is competent to be a Senate president.
Over the years, the assembly has been termed as rubber stamped. Do you think zoning based on either ethnicity or religion could have anything to do with this lack of competence when it comes to delivering in the house?
Yes, you see, that rubber stamp issue, Abel Lawal is a very good lawmaker. You understand? He was a minority leader in the House before he came to Senate. You understand? And he was elected Senate president. You understand? So there is that competency on him. You understand? And if you look at him, you know this is a refined politician.
Okay.
But unfortunately, he became what you said, rubber stamp.
I didn't say.
Because what? No,
yeah,
if you didn't say, me, I have said he became rubber stamp because he wanted to protect his seat.
All right.
So in Nigerian politics, we have to adopt merit.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes. There's also, away from that story, let's quickly take another headline before we leave. There's also another headline that says that, you know, the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is less than 50 days to elapse. And they said he's leaving the country better than he met it. That was a statement coming from presidency this morning. And there's this headline on the Punch newspaper that says Nigerian unemployment rate to hit 41% in 2023. So, what do you think of that?
That's a contradiction.
Exactly.
well,
Olamide must be smart.
I just asked the question.
Yes. To those who are saying that Buhari will leave this country better than the way he met it, I don't think he met so many challenges or difficulties from 2015 when President Jonathan handed over to him. He plunged Nigeria into recession almost 2 times in 2016 and in 2017. We all know how inflation hit from 1 digit, 7.1, to today we have 26%, double digit, which is uncomparable from where he took over. If you look at unemployment rate. This is a government that put embargo on unemployment and created a casual workers and introduce what they call it, empower.
Yes.
Empower that a graduate will be given stipend instead to create job for him, or to enroll him in small scale medium enterprises. You understand? So he met so many good programs and good sound economy that he destroyed, and going with this baggage to Daura.
Would you
and
say
somebody will come to national television and tell us that he's living the way. How did he met it?
But would you say he destroyed it because inflation has moved to 21% and unemployment has moved to 41%? What about the security aspect? What about infrastructure?
Especially infrastructure.
Inspector, look at the deficit of the infrastructure. It's over 10 trillion. Let me put it as the international agencies has been putting it over 11 to 12 billion dollars infrastructural deficit. So what did Buhari do?
Well, I guess we'll leave it at that.
You understand? If you compare it with Umar Musa Yar'Adua and President Jonathan, you will see Buhari is far behind them.
All right, that's your opinion, definitely.
It's my.
Thank you very much for your time.
Even if it's my opinion, it's reality.